Humanity is facing a period of intellectual regression and diminishing quality, yet those within this era not only tolerate this decline but actively defend and propagate it, much like cancer spreading unchecked. This environment has enabled the proliferation of a lowered human standard, infiltrating culture, education, and collective perception of reality. Such individuals are coddled and shielded from consequence, fostering an environment where mediocrity thrives while critical thinking and higher intellectual standards are suppressed. This permissiveness must end. Human society was not constructed on platitudes or abstract moralities. These concepts are constructs that rely entirely on the stability and quality of the societal foundations beneath them. The perpetuation of substandard thinking and education poses a liability to the ecosystem of progress and intellectual rigor. If humanity is serious about survival or the maintenance of its modern comforts, it must confront this liability head-on, eliminating the elements that stagnate its growth. Humans are not born as fully realized beings. While people are automatically granted the title of human, this designation is merely a construct of human civilization, a product of its commodified perception of reality, ideas, and ways of thinking. Being labeled human reflects an artificial framework shaped by societal norms rather than an inherent truth. As such, governing powers must address the impact of immigration and cultural influence on the emotional and mental maturity of the youth decisively and efficiently. If humanity's stewards are at all serious about the survival and progress of the species, they cannot afford to neglect this responsibility. Human society evolved through the rejection of liabilities, not the coddling of every possible deviation from the functional norm. To tolerate individuals who remain alien to basic common sense or critical thought is to harbor liabilities to the species as a whole. Societies rooted in chronic instability or ideologies that resist adaptation, whether through systemic dysfunction, religious dogma, or perpetual conflict, operate on a fundamentally inferior plane of existence. These entities, by their own adherence to destructive practices, become incompatible with modern, materially advanced environments. Allowing such incompatible frameworks into first-world nations risks importing their destabilizing influence into societies that rely on stability and progress. To sustain a functional modern world, it is necessary to acknowledge that morality, as commonly understood, is a human construct. Reality operates independently of emotional attachments or moral sentiments. Those who cling to such attachments at the expense of addressing systemic dysfunction should be educated to understand that feelings and ideals do not dictate the harshness of existence. Only by instilling this discipline can humanity avoid the pitfalls of indulgence and apathy in an era where material comforts have dulled the collective instinct to strive, adapt, and evolve. Modern comfort and advanced systems have created a bubble in which many humans exist passively, taking their survival for granted. This passivity, coupled with the unwillingness to confront reality, risks undermining the very systems that sustain modernity. If humanity fails to confront this decay, it will not only lose its ability to thrive but also its fundamental resilience against the natural and existential challenges that reality inevitably imposes. Morality and ethics, as commonly understood, are not eternal truths or inherent aspects of existence. They are constructs born from human environments and sustained only by the stability of those environments. They exist as privileges, luxuries afforded by a specific state of mind and the material or societal conditions that allow their contemplation. In essence, morality and ethics are existential accessories, a kind of symbolic adornment flaunted by individuals within the confines of like-minded societies. In a modern society, where the collective mind is fragmented and agendas increasingly diverge, what we see is not true morality or ethics but the theatrics of them. They serve as tools to signal virtue or to manipulate, a rusted shell of what these concepts might have been when humanity's shared survival demanded cohesion. As human society advances, either through material progress or ideological shifts, these constructs grow increasingly frail. The quality of the populace, eroded by indulgence and stagnation, coupled with the agendas of those in power, contributes to the decay of these constructs. The stability that once allowed for collective ethical frameworks has been replaced by a patchwork of fleeting narratives, tailored to convenience or control. The concept of morality becomes a rhetorical flourish rather than a guiding principle, a veneer masking the underlying reality of self-interest and power dynamics. Ethics and morality do not transcend their environment, they are contingent upon it. When the foundations that sustain them falter, they disappear, revealing their ephemeral nature. They are not immutable truths but contextual privileges, fragile and ultimately expendable when the reality of survival, control, or dominance asserts itself. Humanity, as a species, is defined not by the automatic designation of human at birth, but by the nurturing and conditioning required to develop into intelligent, capable beings who align with the systems and structures that enable societal progress. This process of nurturing distinguishes those who adapt, innovate, and contribute meaningfully from those who stagnate or regress. When certain populations or regions consistently fail to uphold or advance these foundations, they become liabilities to the broader global system. Third world countries that repeatedly engage in self-destructive behaviors, whether through internal strife, unyielding adherence to outdated ideologies, or active resistance to progress, represent an existential risk to the stability and growth of more advanced civilizations. The persistence of such liabilities imposes costs on global infrastructure, security, and human capital. Refugee crises, cultural incompatibilities, and the destabilizing effects of importing fractured mindsets into more advanced societies weaken the cohesive systems that sustain progress. The influx of populations from these regions into first world nations often amplifies internal discord, diluting the intellectual and cultural frameworks that have been painstakingly developed. This divergence hampers education, critical thinking, and long-term development by introducing elements that neither align with nor support the stability of the existing ecosystem. In a world driven by efficiency and survival, addressing these liabilities necessitates decisive action. The continued accommodation or coddling of destructive elements only exacerbates systemic fragility, stretching resources and attention away from meaningful advancements. The question becomes one of pragmatism. If a population or region demonstrates sustained resistance to constructive adaptation, is it not logical to remove that element from the equation entirely? War, strategic interventions, or even complete elimination through advanced technologies such as nuclear strikes could theoretically serve as ultimate solutions to ensure the survival of humanity's strongest elements. Such actions, though drastic, are aimed at preserving the system and preventing the degradation of global progress. It is also important to address that these interventions must be executed with precision and alignment to measurable outcomes. Blind destruction or overly broad actions could destabilize interconnected systems or harm ecological balances necessary for long-term survival. However, a focused approach, prioritizing the eradication of detrimental influences while safeguarding critical infrastructures, ensures that the global ecosystem remains intact and strengthened by their absence. Furthermore, the insistence on maintaining an environment in which liabilities are allowed to proliferate contradicts the fundamental principles of evolutionary progress. Humanity did not ascend to its current state by protecting weakness but by adapting, innovating, and overcoming inefficiencies. Allowing inferior or self-destructive groups to persist undermines this trajectory. By failing to confront such elements, advanced societies risk losing their own coherence, diluting the intellectual, cultural, and structural frameworks that define their success. The removal of persistent liabilities is not a matter of emotion, empathy, or moral obligation but one of ensuring the survival and advancement of the species. Humanity's future hinges on its ability to prioritize systems and individuals that contribute to its collective strength while eliminating those that undermine it. Genocide, culling, or focused intervention becomes a rational choice when framed as a means of sustaining humanity's long-term viability. This paradigm is not about cruelty or malice. It is about safeguarding progress. The continued existence of societies unwilling or unable to evolve threatens the global system in ways that cannot be ignored. Addressing these challenges requires a fundamental reassessment of priorities, focusing on what is necessary for survival rather than what is superficially desirable or comfortable.